the turbo's in place. We've got our turbo on the manifold, and we've got the manifold mounted on some studs. So what we've got to do now is engage that stud there. So we'll take a bit of weight off the manifold and just connect that into its hole. Right, I'll leave that. So now just get a 13mm. That stud there stayed in, so we've been able to use that to balance the manifold on. So the rest of the studs we've got there, long one in there, I think that's the washer. The washer's still on that one. Okay, that one can go in there, and that one can go in there. Right, 13mm. They're all engaged. For this one in here, I'm going to use a slim 13mm socket so I can get it on straight. Now I can feel that winding the stud in as well, tightening up on the stud. Okay, so we'll go back to the big socket for the rest of them. Right, I've had to take it off again. This stud hole is stripped. There's the original one that came out of it. So I did see that, but anyway I replaced it. So these are the ones from AE Car. Now the thread's not as long as that one, the new stud, so the new stud has lesser chance of holding into a good bit of thread that might be at the end than this one did, so that's no use at all. They're just turning with that little short thread there, so that's not very good. So I think what I'm going to do is I found this, and I can wind that in, and that does pick a thread up right at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this and cut it off. I'll cut it off at the right length. Right, they're off. So there's our stud. That feels pretty firm to me. So that's well in. Good bit of stud there. So what I'm going to do is that's an old stud. That's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use the new AE Car studs. I'm going to use the old ones because they're a little bit longer in the thread. Right, let's get that put back. Right, they're all done. That new bolt to be put in, that's held. It's gone right down to the end of the hole and picked up any thread which might be left at the end, which is a good thing. So just feel them in. It's so easy to over tighten them, and they don't need to be over tightened. That's tight. That's good. That's fine. That's all you need. Just feel them in. They'll all be a little bit different. Some might have been stripped, some are near being stripped, and some will be fine. But that little one there, we've got that, we've grabbed that. Oh, that's gripped smashing. And we'll do that one at the top and just check that one. Excellent. Right, that's done. So before we put the exhaust pipe back on, so we can get easy access to the coupling here, we'll put the oil pipe on. Now there's a support bracket there, so what we'll do is the usual format, do everything finger tight until we've got everything located. So I did buy a new gasket for this one, for this side. I'll put that in there. These are our little Allen bolts, Allen key bolts, so I'll get that in there. And that's not lining up very well with that, so we'll have to give that a bit of a twist when we put it on. I don't like that. I don't like things being in tension. That needs to be twisted around. I don't like things being tense. I put this in the vise, just dressed it back a bit. So this bolt now here goes in quite happily. So there's no tension on this little joint here, and there's no tension on here. So that's happy now. That'll go in all right. That's 17 mil. So that bolt there. It gets pretty rusty. So be ready when you're trying to get it off. Be ready for some difficulty. Right, I'm going to put this in here. $19 mil on that one. So now, in the Integrale way, don't tighten anything up until you can tighten everything up. So now we've got these in, they're engaged, so now we can tighten things up. We've got the studs in, I've put a new longer bolt studdy thing in there, so we've got that one tight. They're good. We need to put the dipstick on, but we can do that. So we've got the exhaust on, we've got this on, we've got the oil feed pipe on, we've got the water outlet on the back of the turbo on, and we've got the oil connected there, and like I say, we've got the exhaust on. So the donkey work's done, really. I'm securing the air collector onto the side of the turbo. So we go underneath the car. Right up there is a 10mm bolt which secures the air collector to the gearbox. So don't forget that. We're still underneath. I've done that air collector up. That's the Fat Man scoop bracket. That there is the oil return pipe. Now you must, I told you before, and I'll tell you, I've told you before, I'll tell you again, you must put that on first before you put the turbo on, because you won't get it on afterwards. So put that on first. Doesn't matter if you do the Jubilee clips up, just make sure the pipe's in place. So we've got the exhaust done up, that bracket's done up, and while we're down here, I want to share that with you, our lovely red sump. You can go to Integralingham.com and have a look how we did that. I think that's pretty good. Right, let's get back up on top. Now, just a point, I bought some new Jubilee clips for this job. Now, looking at them, they're not real Jubilee clips, they're probably Chinese. So what I'm doing is I'm just giving each one a little spray of white grease, so when I want to undo them in the future they won't be corroded. Right, the turbo is a heavy item hanging on the exhaust manifold. It needs a support, and that is the bottom support. Some aftermarket exhausts don't have this on, and they don't have this support bracket. So they have a bunch of bananas exhaust, the big turbo dangling on them, and the exhaust pipe is taking all the weight, and it cracks. So what we need to do is we need to get that in there. Now, if I can get the light on it, you can see that the hole isn't quite lining up. So what I'm going to do, in the spirit of not doing anything up until everything's done, I'm going to undo these 4 bolts holding that bracket on at the back, slacken them off, engage this into the turbo and then do those up again. I've slackened the 4 bolts off, and we've moved that bracket out a bit so that nice and smoothly goes into there with no trouble at all. So we can do that up and then do the 4 up at the back. Right, we've got the dipstick on, oil feed in and out. That's the water feed, so that doesn't matter yet. We've got the air collector on, this bracket is on, the 4 bolts are done up at the back on the engine block. One of them is the earth wire, so it's important you get that good and tight. That bracket's happy. It's really important that you label all these different pipes, because you will forget. You think you'll remember, you'll forget, or maybe it's just me. Right, I've put the intercooler in. It simply slots into the bottom in 2 holes there. Now, if I put it into place, it's catching on the 2 nuts there, the 2 bolts that hold this bracket on. So that rubber looks a bit worn. So what I've done is, excuse my arm, so what I've done is I found a grommet. I've cut the grommeting bit off it, cut a hole in the middle. So I'll slip that down inside there and we'll make that happy. We can bolt that up and it'll cushion it and it won't be banging on the car. Let's do that. Right, that's happy. The clips on the air filter are really difficult to do. I've got a bit of bent coat hanger, and I'll loop that in there, those bottom ones. Come on. Loop that in there and clip it over. This bottom turbo pipe has still got oil in it, so I'm going to clean that out. The pipe's cleaned out, that's better. So we'll get that stuck on. There's a Jubilee clip. Get that on there. I'll jump underneath and get the other end on the intercooler. All the hose work is in place. The top hose, that's the swirl pot's on, that's on, it's plugged in down the bottom. The air cleaner's on, we've sorted the intercooler out, plug leads are on, the oil dipstick is secure. I'll put a bit of a new pipe on there. That plugs in, so the top really I think is complete. I've given the Jubilee clips a quick squirt of grease. Now we go underneath, the turbo's in place, intercooler's in, that's secure. Now I've filled it up with oil, my Mobil 1. That is what this engine has been waiting for all its life. Mobil 1, it's beautiful, it's good for the turbo. Think of your frying pan, crusty on the outside, that's what the turbo will do to oil. Ordinary mineral oil, that is. Make it crusty. That's what makes the oil so dirty. And the bits of crusty burned hydrocarbon circulate in the oil and wear these bearings out. So my oil of choice is this Mobil 1, or any synthetic oil. Any quality synthetic oil is pretty good. Next job, take the plugs out. I've marked all the leads so there's no mistake. We drained the oil out of this car, put a new filter in, the turbo's dry. It would have been an idea actually if I'd have put some oil in it, but I didn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the engine up without it firing, take all the plugs out, turn the engine over till we build up an oil pressure and get some oil circulating in these new parts, and then I can put the plugs back and see if it'll start. Let's give it a go. We got ignition. There she there she goes. Right, I've checked the oil level, I've put the plugs back in, so you stay here and look for any leaks on the engine, and I'll jump in and see if it fires up. Right, I cannot tell a lie. The car wouldn't start because I'd got the plug leads mixed up. So I'm going to jump in now, unset the immobiliser and give it another try. Excellent. Well, that's how it should have started in the first place. My own fault. So we're just about completed. I'll go around looking for some leaks, but I think we're okay. And then we'll get the radiator on, fill it with antifreeze, and we're done. So thank you very much for watching, and bye bye for now.